So I'm Kirstie Edwards and I run Plastic Free Falmouth, which is a community group, and also Seas for the Future, which is a small charity that I set up. So the biggest challenge we have is human action. It's always human action. If we weren't here, it wouldn't be a problem. We created plastic and we are the cause for not disposing of it properly. The biggest thing statistically that's found in the oceans is lost fishing gear. Now there is a misconception that this is thrown into the sea. It's not. Very, very rarely are things actually cut away from boats. That only really happens in an emergency because they're worth so much money. So it's lost fishing gear. We call it ghost gear or ghost nets because it kind of floats around sort of in amongst the sea. Well, we need to work together. I think there's no way one person can fix this problem, and that means businesses, community groups, political leaders, everybody has to work together to address the challenges. And we do need fundamental policy change because there's only so much the voluntary sector can do. I feel a lot of the time that we're just clearing up the mess that's been left behind, but actually what we need is somebody driving and leading from the front to actually prevent this stuff at the source. So things like deposit return schemes, about manufacturers' responsibility for end of life, more and more schemes and systems like that. You know, like when we were kids and we had lemonade bottles that you put back and you got your 20p back, you know, that kind of system could be one of the many things that work and help. It's very timely, but this just blew into shot and somebody came racing across picking it up. So this obviously hasn't been intentionally lost. It's just human beings. That's what happens. Without the voluntary sector, none of this would work. That's the reality. We did some statistics for a big meeting that I did, which had DEFRA, loads of business leaders, charity leaders out in Cornwall, and we put together with the Cornwall Plastic Pollution Coalition some data to do with litter pickers. This was just litter pickers, and it was just in Cornwall, and just the people we actually could validate had actually done what they said they were going to do. And we equated the number of hours to if you were on a basic wage, and it was £387,000 a year just of litter pickers, just of people that we know about that do litter picking. That's not all the people that do it casually, that's not all the meetings, that's literally on the ground stuff. So if you actually think about in real terms how much the voluntary sector is responsible for in terms of this challenge, it is astounding, because it just would, if we all stopped. We said this the other day, we were talking about this beach, Gylly Beach, and some of the challenges we've had recently. Now we have a paid council worker that does work here every day from 7 till 5, but it's supplemented by the voluntary sector. If we all stopped, there is no doubt in my mind this beach would look like a landfill site within probably 48 hours. That's the amount of waste that we leave behind and we produce. So if we weren't all there picking it up, what would the planet look like? It would be awful. Do it. Be a volunteer. It's the best thing ever. It's changed my life. It's changed my life. It made me feel like I had a sense of purpose and I was connected to my community, to everybody around me. It surpassed any sort of boundaries and barriers that I thought existed. All these labels we give one another about, are you left, are you right, are you Brexit, are you not Brexit? All that goes away when you become a volunteer, because you look to the common ground, you look to the thing that you all are passionate about and you care about. And the community that we've built here in Falmouth is made up of people from all walks of life, rich, poor, old, young, apolitical, really political. It's made up of so many different people, and there is a place for everybody, and it's a place that you can feel really connected and valued with the people that live in the town that you live in. It's by far the most rewarding thing that I've done. Aside from being a parent, I should probably say that, because you know I love my kids and stuff, but something that I've chosen to do aside from being a mother is definitely volunteering. It brings much more than you could ever give to it, which is what I think people don't understand about volunteering. They all think, oh, you're amazing to go and volunteer. And I was like, it's not selfless, because I get so much back from it. I get so much, I feel good about myself, and I feel like I understand where I live better, and I make all these connections with different people, and I love that. It makes me feel alive. What's the point if we were all just in our little bubbles doing our own thing? You know, it makes you feel connected, and that's what we all seek out, isn't it, Shirley? The pandemic has been a strange one, because initially when we went into lockdown, across the board, everybody was shocked by the amount of rubbish that suddenly disappeared. And we were like, oh, so you take humans away, we don't have a problem anymore. And I think we all naively thought maybe this is going to be the thing that changes everything. But then what happened is all the disposables started coming back, and people didn't want to touch things. So even myself, you know, as an avid litter picker and voluntary person, you know, I was shielding. I was really anxious to be going and touching stuff, and I didn't know how things were transmitted and stuff. So it became difficult, and there was a while there when we thought, oh my goodness, now the opposite is true. You can see what happens when the people aren't picking rubbish up, and we humans aren't there to actually clear this mess up. So that became really obvious that humans were the problem very, very quickly. And then, of course, it's the masks and the gloves. Now, we never, I don't think I've picked up maybe 2 disposable gloves in all of my time litter picking. And now, on an average day litter picking, you'll pick up between 12 and 15 masks and probably between 5 and 7 gloves. They're everywhere, literally everywhere you go. So I think we've reverted back. We've taken a few steps in terms of disposable culture, and we really need to start thinking a little bit about actual cross-contamination and what is safe practices, and really get people feeling safe again, because of course our health is the most important thing. But we all need to work together to reassure everybody, I think, that actually refilling cups, coffee cups, for example, is no less or more dangerous than having a disposable. You know, it's the same procedures that are done to fill that coffee cup. So I think it's highlighted how important the voluntary sector is, but it's also highlighted how much of a challenge humans are in general. I think the vision and the movement forward has to be about collaboration. One thing that we've really tried to do with Plastic Free Falmouth is to, and across the whole of the plastic free communities, is try to engage and unite everybody. So that's trying to look at how businesses operate, how councils operate and policies get created, how the voluntary sector operates, how education and outreach operates, you know, and it's about everybody actually playing their part and working together to make sure that we actually can get to where we want to be, because none of us can do that none of these sectors can do it alone. We can keep pushing and driving from the voluntary sector, but without the support of policy change, we're going to be just forever like on the hamster wheel, going and going and going and going. And education and outreach, we always talk about education, that we do it every year because everybody grows up, and you've got to hope that all those embedded things that you've spoken and taught people actually they take through their lives. But you have a new challenge every year to keep going and going and going with that, so that you're always hitting new audiences, because there's always going to be a new set of teenagers, there's always going to be a new set of students that come to the town, there's always going to be a new set of young families and people that maybe have not thought about the way that we do things. So it's about ongoing action, it's about everybody working together and collective responsibility. It's not down to one person to fix this alone. It's not just about the business, it's not just about the voluntary sector. We all have our part to play.